Oh, it has not been smooth sailing, but it's been such a fun journey. Can I say that? Being comfortable with rejection is definitely a big part of being a startup founder. I have been accepted into multiple accelerators, but I've also been rejected from a lot of accelerators. So I think for someone who is thinking of starting something, you need to be comfortable with people saying no. So in Silicon Valley was an experience, that was a once in a lifetime experience. Silicon Valley does not play. They're at a different level. And I see that their mindset is give first, ask later. Going to Silicon Valley in my 40s, I had a very different perspective. I think if I went in my 20s, I would have been very much aware. You can find opportunities that don't compromise who you are. I don't look at it as I'm missing out. I really don't. I think what's meant for me is going to come to me. I think my faith and being Muslim does really drive how I do business. Majority of us have been raised with go to school, get a degree, get a 9-to-5 job, retire.
So Kausar, tell me about your startup journey. Has it been all smooth sailing up until now?
Oh, it has not been smooth sailing, but it's been such a fun journey. Can I say that? I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about myself. This is something I've always wanted to do. So yeah, I'm a clinical pharmacist and I've done practice for over 20 years, but I was also regional director of pharmacy for a large chain back in Canada. So that's where I kind of got that business bug because I was managing P&Ls, right? I was hiring people, I was firing people, I was creating patient education campaigns. I was managing the business side of running multiple pharmacies. So taking that experience, taking my clinical experience, I always wanted to do something for myself. And at one point I was consulting actually for other startups on how to get their product or service to market, or how to have baseline processes for HR, IT, finance, how to set up a small business, right? Or nonprofit. So that consulting journey I did for a couple of years. And then I thought, well, okay, I'm helping everybody else, but I want to do something for myself. SubhanAllah, from Allah, that year that I was having a really difficult year, I was thinking to myself, I need to do something, not only for myself, but to help other women. So what do? It was Ramadan. I remember this clearly. And I was like making dua to Allah. I felt stuck. I'm like, how do I get unstuck? And everybody's journey is going to be different. But for me, I like creating. I like doing something. I like to be involved in a project. Literally, I go for Taraweeh. I come back. Sorry, I keep hitting this mic. I'm not doing great with that. I go for Taraweeh. I come back and I get an email from Flat 6 Labs. Now, Flat 6 Labs is something that I've applied to. They're like an accelerator program. So I've already applied to them twice before for different ideas. Rejected instantly both times. And I mean, we'll talk about this a little later, but being comfortable with rejection is definitely a big part of being a startup founder. So I'm on this mailing list because I've been applying to them before for different things. And I get this email about a women's health accelerator. They're accepting global applications. So I'm like, amazing. I have an idea. I literally put a pitch deck together. I recorded a video. I sent it in and I forgot about it. I'm like, okay, I did my part. And that's something that I think I always do. I do the work and then I leave it to Allah. Like I do the work, I put the effort in, and then it's going to go where it's going to go. A couple weeks later, they're like, okay, we want to interview you. I'm like, well, this is great because I haven't made it to an interview stage for the other two ideas that I had. And then for the next month, I had interviews with different panels of judges. And out of the 300 applicants, I was one of the final 16, which I thought, amazing opportunity. So that summer, I didn't travel because it was a very, very intense program. And I usually go back every summer. And then out of the final 16, they picked 7 to pitch at GuyTex in Dubai. So I got picked as one of the 7, pitched. And then that journey kind of helped me launch and formulate my MVP, right? So the app launched actually English, Arabic first. in May, and then we added the 4 languages in November. And since then, like, it's been, subhanAllah, a whirlwind. We've been featured in the media multiple times. We've been accepted into multiple accelerators in different countries. So we're just finishing one up in the UK. I just finished one in Dubai in December, finishing one up in Kuwait by Feb. We just got accepted into 2 more. One's for Pakistani founders, and one is focused on solutions that can scale across Africa, which really validates what we're doing because we are a global solution. We are in 6 languages for a reason. We are posed to scale across not just GCC, but MENA, South Asia, Africa. I have been accepted into multiple accelerators, but I've also been rejected from a lot of accelerators. So I think for someone who is thinking of starting something, you need to be comfortable with people saying no. So people see the yes, right? If you go through my LinkedIn, you go through my Instagram, they're going to be like, oh, wow, this is amazing. And alhamdulillah, it is. I'm very grateful for the opportunities that are coming my way, but they're not seeing the hours that I've put in doing different applications, starting meetings with people who I think are going to go someplace and then they don't go anywhere. Meeting people who, like we said, are looking at us thinking, who do you think you are? But then also meeting amazing people who, through this project, I've met who completely align with what I want to do and are now part of the team. So a lot of ups, but also a lot of downs.
You only see the glossy side of it.
Yeah.
So when I follow you on social media, I'm just clapping, thinking, wow, she's gone to Silicon Valley. That must be so
Silicon
cool.
Valley was amazing.
And then I can't help but wonder, I bet it's just all amazing and you're meeting amazing people and you're having such an amazing time. Is that the reality?
No, it's not the reality. Absolutely not. No, I mean, again, grateful for the blessings that I have. And Silicon Valley was an experience. That was a once in a lifetime experience. Silicon Valley does not play. They're at a different level. Like, I feel like when you're there, the entire city is just like everybody's a founder, or everybody has a founder mindset where they're looking for opportunities. They're having conversations. They're seeing how they can collab with one another. I did see that trait in the Silicon Valley community where they're like, yeah, we'll help you. I'm having conversations with people who don't know me, who are like, okay, we want to know what you're building, who you are. Let me see if I can connect you with this person, this person, this person. They don't have to do that, but they're very willing to make those connections and networks. It's not, oh, well, what's in it for me? It's okay, yeah, I'm here, I'm part of this. And I see that their mindset is give first, ask later, very much so. So they're happy to make connections because maybe in the future I can help them out with something, right? So they have a very collaborative mindset, but they're also always on. Like, it was a very intense experience and I learned a lot. So grateful for that.
So Kausar, tell me about Silicon Valley. How did you get there?
How did I get there? So, like I said, I'm always applying to different accelerators, programs, trying to find mentors. I love learning. So I think I'm always looking for opportunities where I can learn. And I'm part of a female founder group. So they posted this opportunity with Zain Great Idea. So their accelerator program out of Kuwait. So they usually send people to Silicon Valley, but just from Kuwait. But this year they opened it up to MENA. So they were having different boot camps in different countries. So I applied for the one in Dubai. So I go. And super intense boot camp. The last day you're pitching Dragon's Den style. So literally you're walking in. So it's just you. It's not like the other founders are watching you. You walk in, you do your 3-minute pitch. So you're having to convey your journey, the problem and your solution and why they should pick you. 3 minutes. And then the judges ask you questions and you walk out. So I do my pitch and I mean, I was pretty happy with it, but I didn't know how I compared to the other teams because you don't watch each other pitch. The winner of that Dragon's Den or that experience, that pitch competition gets to go to Silicon Valley. So alhamdulillah, I was picked. Go to Silicon Valley, and it's basically how to take your idea to the next level. So there are mentors who come in and do workshops with us, talking about, your ideal customer profile. Where's your solution now? Where do you want it to go? What do you need to do to get there? Goal setting, visiting different companies or entities in Silicon Valley, like CARTA. The CARTA workshop was amazing when they're talking about how to actually set up your cap table, which a lot of founders go into this journey not understanding the finances or even how to fundraise. Or if you do fundraise and you get investment, how much equity do you give? Like, this is stuff that especially me as a pharmacist, I didn't learn this in school. So a lot of, amazing information like that, like how to set up a vesting schedule if you have a co-founder, what to look for in a co-founder, what happens if your co-founder leaves, right? So all of these, variables, how to set that up from a cap table perspective. We went to Google, we went to Amazon, just learning from different companies who are operating and having success in Silicon Valley, and just understanding their business model and how they can help startup founders. So one of them was NVIDIA. That was a really cool workshop. And I think what I liked about that experience was the lady who, sorry, her name is escaping me right now, but she's like, NVIDIA, even though it's a $1 billion entity, and they're really like having such a huge impact, especially in the AI space, still run like a startup. The founder still looks at it as a startup. And they also love helping other startups. They have a very collaborative approach where it's not, okay, this is our IP and this is our program and we're not sharing with anybody. They're like, no, this is our computer chips. These are our supercomputers. We, are willing to work with other amazing people. And one of the products of that collab was OpenAI. Like I said, Silicon Valley is intense, but they also do have this vibe of, we want to help people, or we're willing to collab or share information. So we would have those in the morning, and then in the evening we would have like going to different panel discussions or investor meetings. There was a speed pitch competition. I didn't take part in that one, but there were members of the cohort who did. So that was very interesting to watch. So they had like tables set up. Think of it like speed dating, but you're trying to find an investor, and you would go and you would do your little pitch. I think it was 3 minutes. And then they would ask you questions for 3 minutes, and then the bell would go and you'd move onto the next investor. So I'm like, oh, this is next level. And then the last day of the 2-week, it was a 2-week program. The last day we pitched to potential investors in Silicon Valley. And that was kind of setting us up for demo day that's coming up in Kuwait. So yeah, that's how I got accepted into the Silicon Valley program, was through Zain Great Idea in Kuwait. The program in the UK, actually, my colleague and supporter, Noshina, I met her through LinkedIn. I was posting about Me Now Health. She has something that she's working on. So she messaged me and we just chatted, and we found out that we were very much aligned. So she's like, okay, I'll be your UK rep for Me Now Health. And then we applied to Yorkshire Humber Innovation Springboard. We're a part of that. That demo day is coming up as well. So through collaborations, through meeting amazing people, and through sending applications in and getting rejected 9 out of 10 times, but that one time that it does stick, it's amazing when it does. And we've had a lot of success. And like you said, people are seeing the success, but they're not seeing the work behind it. So I think 5 accelerators now, inshallah, by the end of June.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But Kausar, I have to ask.
Yeah.
Because this is something that I would feel.
Yeah.
Did you feel that you fit in when you went to Silicon Valley? Because this is something I know I would have grappled with and struggled with.
Did I fit in? I was definitely very visibly Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
I think going to Silicon Valley in my 40s, I had a very different perspective. I think if I went in my 20s, I would have been very much aware of how I stood out. Yeah. I think going now and having lived experience, I kind of used it to my advantage. I'm like, yeah, I do stand out. Yep, that's my USP. That's why I bring a different perspective. So did I necessarily fit in? Maybe not. If you think of someone who's in Silicon Valley, right? You're not going to think of a Canadian-born Muslim, Pakistani, or like ethnicity, hijabi. You're not going to think of me, pharmacist in her 40s, being in Silicon Valley, right? But I think that worked to my advantage because then I did stand out. So people are like, okay, well, what are you about? They wanted to know my
They were
story.
curious.
Super curious.
Do you feel that you were treated differently?
No. Let me tell you why. Because I think it's not that I don't allow it. I don't really care about being treated one way or another, right? I'm going to be who I am. If you want to ask me questions, you want to understand what I'm doing, how I got here, absolutely ask me. Within my cohort, no, I did not feel that I was treated differently. When I went to events, honestly, because I don't have that, it's not something I'm looking for. So if you're not looking for how people are treating you, you're not going to clock that. You're not going to be like, oh yeah, they looked at me different, or they're not talking to me the same that they're talking to another person. That's not even on my, it's not something that I'm looking for. I'm going in to network. I'm going in to find people who are like-minded and to share my story. That's it. So when you go in laser focused, you're not going to really be distracted by that.
But did you feel that there were things that you couldn't do?
Yes.
Because of your background?
Yes. I think some of the networking, because there was alcohol present and I don't do that, that made me uncomfortable. I don't think it was as inclusive in that sense. But then I'm also finding, to be honest, I don't think that's a Silicon Valley problem. There was an event I was invited to Dubai, and I walked in and everyone was drinking. I was like, okay. And I walked out because I didn't feel comfortable, right? So I think there is this element of, networking in the startup world or in the business world where, alcohol is involved, and that just makes me uncomfortable and doesn't align with who I am and my faith. So I just remove myself from that situation. Is that hindering my networking opportunities? I'm going to say no. Let me tell you why. Because maybe those people are not going to understand or be aligned with what I'm trying to do. So that's okay. That's not the people I need to meet. There are other opportunities for me to meet people. There are other opportunities for me to find people who understand what I'm trying to do, who I can collaborate with. For example, one of the field trips, if that's the right word, in Silicon Valley was to Stanford. So I met people there who was like, okay, yeah, Stanford's huge on research. That's something that I want to do. So I made my networks. I met people there who I'm still in conversation with that had nothing to do with, the evening networking events. So I think you can find opportunities that don't compromise who you are. I don't look at it as I'm missing out. I really don't. I think what's meant for me is going to come to me. I think my faith and being Muslim does really drive how I do business or how I even approach my startup journey. If it's meant for me, it's going to come. And alhamdulillah, a lot has come my way. And if it's not meant for me, then it wasn't good for me. So then I just leave it.
I love how you're staying so authentically you throughout the process, because you're navigating an area that there's no blueprint. No one's showing you how you're supposed to do it. And yet you're leading with your values and what's important to you.
I think also to help me manage me, right? If I go in with the perspective that if it's meant to happen, it's going to happen, then it takes kind of the stress out of it. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm not putting the pressure, no, this has to work. It's going to work if it's meant to work. And that's why I'm really enjoying this journey, because I'm allowed to have fun with it, because I don't have this pressure of this meeting that I'm having with this person. It has to lead to something. I don't go in with that perspective. I go in with, I'm going to meet this person. Either I'm going to learn something, or it's going to translate into something that's good for the business. Those are really the only two options. It's not, oh, well, that was a waste of my time. Nothing is a waste of my time. Everything is learning. Is there a blueprint? I love how you bring that up, because I think all of us have been raised with, or majority of us, let me rephrase that. Majority of us have been raised with, go to school, get a degree, get a 9-to-5 job, retire. We're not encouraging entrepreneurs. So yeah, it's definitely been a solo journey, and one that I'm learning a lot. And I'm looking at this thinking, you know what? We have a lot of talent in the community that can actually translate into amazing businesses, or not necessarily an idea, but there's people who I'm like, you would be an amazing business owner, but we're too scared to try. We're risk averse. We that's ingrained into us. Don't take risks. Take what's more stable. Take the route that's going to make sure that you have food on the table. And I get that. I do get that. But why can't you have a side hustle too? Right? Why can't you do both? And then when the side hustle takes off, ditch the 9-to-5. Maybe this is your calling, but we don't really give that option, especially to our kids. Not an option, right? For us, it wasn't an option.
No, because our parents were being safe. They just need.
And I understand why they were being safe, right? Because they're coming from a different perspective, where we're immigrating to other countries to give you a better education. So make sure that translates to a good job with good pay, right? Being a startup founder is a risk. If you look at the startups that have succeeded, they've had a lot of failures first. I actually applied to a program, and one of the question was, not even a question of criteria, you have had to have failed before applying. You had to have one business that failed, explain why it failed, what you learned from it, and then you could apply. Because they want the founders that have the wisdom of, okay, what worked, what didn't work? How did you pivot? Did you pivot? Did the pivot work? Okay, it didn't work. Great, fine. Now you know what to do better next time. It's not a stable journey at all. But I do feel like I wish people would look at it as, okay, this is something we can also do. I mean, you probably wouldn't sleep then, but okay, fine, if that's your passion. But in parallel, right? Have your stable job, have it fund your startup, and then go from there. But we don't really think of that as an option.
So, Kausar, in this entire journey, there's probably been so much growth, so much learning.
Yeah.
What's been your key takeaway?
That I'm a lot more resilient than I give myself credit for. That I know how to figure things out. I think I went into the journey very naive, right? Because I don't come from a family that does business, right? Everyone's, highly educated, have 9-to-5s. That's been what I've seen, right? I also had a 9-to-5. Well, not 9-to-5. It was like 9-to-9, right? Pharmacy is a different world, but I had a job that gave me a salary for 2 decades. So now to go into the unknown was scary, but I think I went into it very naive. And I think I'm grateful that I did, because if I knew then what I knew now about the struggle, maybe I would have been too scared to start, because it's a lot. You really have to put yourself out there. And initially I was very uncomfortable. One, because I didn't know how to share my journey or my mission or exactly what I wanted to do. So I kind of had to work that out. 2, I didn't know what, like you said, what are people going to say? So I'm like, I can't post anything. Because what are people going to say? And now I'm like, I don't care what people are going to say. I think the response has been so positive that I feel an obligation to share. I've learned that you need to be resilient. I think I've become very, very resilient. I think I was before to a certain extent. But this has really, really helped me have thicker skin, to not be so emotionally attached to outcomes. So if something goes great, I'm like, alhamdulillah. If something didn't go great, alhamdulillah. Like, I think, and that's translated to other parts of my life too. It's not just the business, where you really, really, if I approach it saying, I've done the work, I've put all this work in, whatever's meant to happen is going to happen, it's freeing. It really is. And I look at other founders who maybe don't share the same faith as me, or maybe they do, but they're really stressed out. They're like, oh man, we need this, Q1, we need to hit this KPI. And I'm like, yep, I have KPIs too. I have, goals that I want to achieve. I have things that I need to measure. Am I stressed? Okay, there is a stress day to day. I need to get this presentation done, or these emails done, or set up this meeting. But the outcome, I'm not worried about.
You're detached.
I'm detached from it. And I think that's why I'm having so much fun doing this, because it's honestly out of my hands. If you come in with that approach as a Muslim, that is really out of my hands. You do the work and then you leave it. I've also learned that I'm very qualified, and I've met people who are less qualified or not qualified, pretend to be experts in the space, who talk to me like they're doing me a favor. And I'm like, wait a second. Like, this doesn't seem right. I think that's a whole other podcast of that mindset, right? But I've gone through that experience going, okay, but I am qualified and I do know what I'm talking about. And I am an expert in my space. So I have absolutely every right to talk about my journey, my product, my service, my community. I don't like it when other women who are not from the community tell me what to do, or talk to my community like they know what they know, they know what's best for them. No, you don't.
But I feel though, Kausar, because this has been my experience, with a hijab on your head, and a name like Kausar, do you not feel that you have to work harder than these women who might not even be qualified in this field?
I feel like I've always had to work harder. Doesn't matter what job I'm in, whether I'm a 9-to-5 or I'm a startup founder. I have always felt like I've had to work harder. But that's something that my dad's always also told me. So my dad immigrated to Canada in the 70s, did his master's in Canada, has always said, listen, we have to work 3 times harder.
Doesn't that get exhausting?
100%. It is exhausting. And there's times where you feel like, but this isn't fair. How come I have to not even work harder? You have to prove yourself, like really take the time to prove yourself, where another person will be like approved right away and they're not qualified. And for me, I have to be like, okay, but let me give you my resume.
Yeah.
And the traction that we've had and the things that I've done. Okay, yeah. Now we can talk to you. I'm like, wait a second. It is exhausting, but it also is what it is. I'm not saying it's fair. It's not. It's not where we should be at this point.
It's something I struggle with still.
Yeah.
I remember that when I speak, I have to explain when I was qualified, what year I was qualified, how many years I've been working, so what my CV says, because it's not enough just for me to say, this is the work I do. I have to prove it more than somebody who isn't even qualified, but they're accepted for who they are based on how they look.
But I don't know how we can change that. I really don't. I agree with you. I share the same struggle. I don't know how do we change that. And I think because of that, I do work hard. I am able to juggle multiple things at one time because I've always had to prove myself. So that's just become part of my pace. Don't think it's fair, but it is what it is.
And I think that's what I wanted to ask as well.
Yeah.
It's not the only thing you do. You also are a mother of 3.
Yes, 3.
Yeah. So you're a mom. You're a very involved mom. You've got the community work that you do, all the other networking events. And it's like, how do you manage it?
So I will say that as a founder of a startup, you kind of set your own hours, right? So one thing that I do talk about to women who want to start their own thing, they're like, oh, what do we need to do to start? I'm like, you need discipline, for sure. You need to work on this every day. Now, does that mean you're working 9 to 5 or however many hours? No, there are some days you will be working long hours on it. And some days maybe you do half an hour. Mm-hmm. I think for me, because I do want to be there for my kids when they get home from school, that's important for me. They're teenagers. We are in a different ball game right now where I have to manage school. They're pretty self-sufficient, I have to say, alhamdulillah, but there's still that emotional support that you need to do. There's the after-school activities that are exhausting, driving, 3 different kids with 3 different interests. This allows me to work on my time and my schedule, so I am able to juggle it. I think if I was working a 9 to 5 right now, I think I would struggle. So for this, I can kind of schedule it. And I do most of my stuff when the kids are away so that I am present when they're home. Although they might say different. They'll be like, oh, you're on your phone again. I'm like, oh, I know, I need to just respond to this email. So something I still need to work on, but I do most of my stuff when they're at school. The community work, listen, I think of something as a passion, you don't look at it as work. I like getting people together in a productive way, right? Like I love brunch as much as the next person, but it cannot be just going out to eat, right? Like, are we learning from each other? Are we building community? Are we building a home away from home? A lot of us are expats here and we don't have family with us. Are we building a system where we can rely on one another? And I think that's something that's important to me. I love community building. So I don't look at it as work. So it's kind of fun. So I kind of get it done. And I think because I set my own hours, I'm able to get it done. Yeah.
And I have to ask, if I look at your journey, say the rejections, the balancing, the juggling, and just the growth, how has this impacted your mental health? I
think starting Meena Health has been very healing for me because I'm a list person. Do you know what I mean? When you have a list of things that you want to do and then like you cross them off.
I'm the same. It feels good, right? It's like some
or you add things to the list that weren't on the list just so you can cross them off, right? I'm that person. Starting something has always been on my list. I actually talked to a friend about this very openly. You know how people have a fear of, just a fear of failure? I don't really have that. I have a fear of regret. Like there's certain things that I've wanted to do that I didn't get a chance to do. And I feel like that window's gone and that bugs me. So that fear of regret or like just not wanting to try something fuels me to try something. I like trying new things. Sometimes they don't go anywhere. That's fine. I'm not worried about trying. I'm not scared about trying. And I'm not scared about failing. I'm scared not to try. So this for me was something on my list to do. So doing it was being like, okay, this is good. I feel like this is going to be my legacy project. I hope it's my legacy project. I like helping women. I think this is going to help a lot of women. So for me, that makes me feel good. I think I've learned a lot about perimenopause as a clinician as well through this project. Because we didn't get a lot of training in school. So this has really helped me really understand the nitty-gritty. That resilience helps you build a mindset where you're like, okay, not necessarily go with the flow. Like it is go with the flow, but it's also like, if I get rejected from a program, okay. What's the worst that could happen? Nothing. I just apply to the next one. And then because I've built that mindset, I've been accepted to a lot of different things. And I've been invited to speak at different conferences, which really, makes me happy. And I'm doing something for me. right? I've carved out something that I enjoy doing that is separate from me being a mom or a wife or a daughter-in-law or a daughter or a friend. This is really for me, helping the community, but I've carved it out for me. And I think that's helped me regain what I want to do with my life in midlife, right? What's my identity? So it's helped my mental health for sure.
I love that, Kausar. So if you could speak to the Kausar who didn't yet know that she would create an app that would change not only her life, but the lives of so many women out there, what would you like her to hear?
I don't think that Kausar would have believed this Kausar, because I was in a different phase. I was very much stuck in the get a job, do your job, go home. I don't think that Kausar would have believed that she would take that risk. Although I seem very, let's try everything. I have been let's try everything, but to a limit, right? I think moving internationally has really, that forces you out of your comfort zone, right? That in and of itself, even if you don't do anything, even if you don't start a business, just moving to another country, setting up your kids' school, setting up life, finding a new social circle in your 40s, that in and of itself makes you grow, right? That Kausar, if I told her, you're going to start something and it's going to be an amazing journey, I think she would have been like, yeah, absolutely. But Kausar in Toronto 20 years ago, I'd be like, oh, you're going to start something and you're going to be on your own and you're going to have to figure out a lot of things by yourself. I think she would have been like, don't do it.
She would have talked her out of it.
I think she would have been, I think she would have been like, you have a lot going on. Do you really want to add this? But listen, timing is everything, right? Timing, I think I needed to be where I am now to start this journey. I don't think 20-something-year-old Kausar would have been prepared to handle this.
You needed the 40 switch to go off.
I needed the 40 switch to go off. I needed the 2 decades of working to get to a point where I don't want to work anymore. I needed to be in a situation where, and let me acknowledge the privilege that I have, that I'm able to do something and hubby be the breadwinner, right? That it is a privilege and a blessing. Because if I was in Toronto, there's the other issue of we were a 2-income household. Now, 2-income household, I'm working, I have the kids, they're young. How was I going to start a side hustle? I probably could have, but would it have gone where I needed it to go? No. So I know that I'm in a privileged position to be even able to start. But then timing is everything. And I was meant to start it now. And I believe that I needed to have that lived experience to be able to approach this project with the right perspective.
And I think that young Kausar would have seen the older Kausar being so cool.
Oh, I don't know about cool. I don't know about cool, but I think she would have been like, oh, wow. So we actually did it. Because it's something I've always wanted to do. I wouldn't have thought it would have been the app, right? But I've always wanted to do something for myself. I'm like, I would look at other business owners and be like, that's amazing. How did you do it? Like an air of mystery. How were you able to get to where you are? But like you said, we don't share stories. So I've never been able to speak to somebody else. Also, it's not very common in the community, right? It is now. I'm seeing people taking that leap. And I think that's amazing. But way back when, am I aging myself? I've aged myself. But way back when you're seeing people having their own business, I'm like, you're made different, man. But now I'm seeing and going through my own journey, no, everyone can be a startup founder if they have the discipline to do it, if they have a resilient mindset and they're willing to learn.
And I think push yourself out of your comfort zone. Oh,
yes. It's been very uncomfortable. There's times it's been extremely uncomfortable. But then when you get to the other side, you're like, okay, it wasn't that bad. You know, another motivation that's kind of driving me to do this is my kids. It is because I talk to them about resilient mindset, but then I'm like, I'm not showing it if I give up. And I talk very openly about projects that I've done, stuff that hasn't worked out, events that I've organized that have gone amazing, community events that I've organized that not very many people showed up. I share everything with my kids. So they're like, oh, okay. To show them that, okay, but mama's still okay, right? Nothing drastic happened because something didn't go according to plan. And I don't think we were given that tool for our toolbox, right? To be like, okay, how do you manage life when things don't go according to plan? And when you're a founder, a lot of things don't go according to plan. So how do you ride that wave?
How do you be okay with that?
How do you be okay with it? So I think a big part of it has been, let me just do this to show my kids, if you want to do something, you can do it. If you do something, stick with it. If it doesn't go according to plan, that's okay. If an opportunity comes your way, amazing. If an opportunity doesn't come your way, okay, it wasn't meant for you.
That's amazing lessons. And I think just by watching us, they're learning.
I hope so. I hope so. I mean, teens, right? My teens they're not going to be like, yeah, mom, you're doing amazing. But I hope that when they get to their 40s, right, they're going to be like, okay, you know what? My mom took a chance and she took a risk. And I remember when I told my kids about Silicon Valley, they were so excited, confused, but excited because they're like, Mama's going to Silicon Valley? Because they don't look at me as techie, right? Because I'm their mom. That's the role that they see me in. So they were like, oh man, you're going to Silicon Valley. That's amazing. Okay, this is what you have to do. And they're like helping me pack. And I thought that was really nice that they were looking at me as not just a mom, but as someone who's doing something for herself and has this opportunity. And, what did you learn? What did you do?
Kausar, you sound like an inspiration, not just to your children,
thank you,
but also to all the women out there in the community.
But you are too. Look at what you're doing, and thank you for including me.
No,
because we need to have this conversation, and I wouldn't have had it with anybody else. So thank you so much.
Thank you for coming. For the women who have benefited from this conversation and would like more guidance, you can download Kausar's app, Me Now Health, available on Apple and Google Play. And if you enjoyed this conversation, please subscribe to Reflections and Realizations so you don't miss future episodes. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.